Hello, mate. Oh, brilliant. Okay, I'll be right over. See you in a few minutes. Cheers, bye. Remember this? Started on it about 2 months ago, I think it was now. I've been waiting for absolutely ages for Fiat to ship the part. Finally, I managed to source one on eBay. Just dropped that off with Alan at the body shop. So in a couple of weeks' time, when he's got through his backlog of all the cars he's working on at the moment, he's going to get that all sorted out. I'm now off to a body shop for paint and see if they can quote me as to how much it will be for the panels to be resprayed. So Fiat 500 should be coming back to us, fingers crossed, in about 2 weeks' time. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are now getting started with episode 4 on the Clio. So in this episode I am going to address the issues with this wheel. So I don't know if you saw it from one of the previous videos, but if you check the measurement between where this wheel sits to the wheel arch in comparison to the other wheel, this is sat about an inch further back than it needs to be, and that's because the lower suspension arm, or wishbone, sorry, this bit up here, is basically got a twist in it. So we'll get the car up in the air. I have to make a confession that I got really impatient and tried to get the locking wheel nut off that wheel. I did it, but in doing it I've kind of done myself over slightly. One of the comments was that I could go to Renault and they would have a master key set, so I'd be able to get the locking wheel nut, which didn't come with the car. They did, it cost me about 20 quid, but the problem was I drilled off the wheel nut that was on there so that I could have a proper look behind this wheel, rather than waiting 2 days for delivery of the wheel nut. So I have the right wheel nuts to take off all the wheels now, and I've also had to buy an entire set of additional wheel nuts because essentially there'd only be 3 that match the locking wheel nut. So I've wasted not only time but 20 odd quid on a wheel nut that I can't use. Maybe it will come useful to somebody. I'll put it on eBay afterwards with the description as to what the fitment is, and we'll go from there. Other item that we're going to try and fit today, when you take the lower arm off, you have to loosen off the subframe. Now I have a replacement subframe down there. Because we've got to loosen that off to take off that arm, I may as well try and take the whole thing out. Now alignment wise, this end of the chassis is up slightly, but I think it will still bolt back up, which is quite good because we want it to be as complete as possible for when we go and get the areas of the chassis replaced, which are these skins, which also have arrived today from Renault. So quickly, just to go through the bits that we've got. These are the 2 main parts that we need. On this part of the chassis there is a kink here where everything's got pushed up. These parts that I've got from Renault go over the top and weld on to the main chassis leg, which is undamaged, and then we'll correct the angle. So that will sit about there, and then this part of the skin, which is that section there that's bent, welds onto that. So once those 2 bits are replaced, we're left with this part of the damage here, which the body shop says because we've got to take off the metal behind it, it's going to make it a single skin that will pull out. And then this piece in that orientation, is that right? No. This piece in that orientation will then sit behind there, move all the wires out the way, and then bolt will weld back on. And then there is a reinforcement bar which we took off in the strip down video 2, which goes across around to here, and there's another part that bolts on there which fits the wheel arch, and those are that bit and that bit. So now we've got all the parts, including that locking wheel nut, I can get this kind of structure sorted out to an extent, and then we just have to wait for the body shop to be ready so that I can go down there. And they have said that I can go down there and actually do a lot of the work, so we'll need to drill off these special rivets, we'll have to drill out any of the welds, and then the body shop themselves will actually do the welding on here. This is a type of boron steel, I believe he said, and luckily he's just bought the right type of welding machine to use with boron steel. So enough of the update, let's get the front wheels off and strip down that wishbone and get the subframe out. I think the problem we've got is because it's so twisted, there's so much tension on that ball joint, it just will not drop out. So I'm thinking if I disconnect it from the subframe, I'll be able to manipulate it a bit better and then hopefully get that out. So let's start off with bolting that subframe, and I think I need to take off the under tray first. Right, so that's the anti-roll bar linkages off. The reason why I've taken them off is because we need to get access to the bolt. So if you can see that, it's right down here, and with that in the way I couldn't get clear access, so that moves that out of the way. Finally got it off. What I should have done is look at the other replacement part more closely. I thought these were threaded bolts. They're not, they're just pins. So all that holds the subframe in is a bolt here, same on the other side, sorry, on the other side, and then you have two bolts which sit, no, sorry, underneath here, and then go up into the parts of the chassis leg. Obviously we need to replace the one on this side, but I'm hoping I'll be able to get it back in and offered up. That then frees up access to here to remove, I believe, this part, which then goes all the way through. I don't know how easily you can see that, but it goes all the way through to the bolt on that side there, which we're trying to take out. I need a breather. It's getting hot in here. Back in a minute. Right, so that's the main bolt removed that goes through underneath there. I did put plenty of WD-40 on it this time. So then, in theory, that bit, the actual wishbone bit, should be completely loose. Ah, there we go. Ah. There we go. What a joke. So if we look at the one that I've just battled to get off. So twisted. All the energy that went into the impact basically twisted that section. As you can see on the new one, it's completely flat there, but on this one, proper distorted. So I was considering changing both sides, but the other side wishbone is absolutely fine. Some people might comment and say, well, we should have changed them in pairs. I don't think that has to be the case. So we'll remove the protective cover off that, get this wishbone back installed, put the new subframe back in, and hope it all bolts up okay. So that's the wishbone replaced. That's all buttoned up now in there nicely. Reconnected the anti-roll bar. Did make a slight mistake. I put the bolt that was on here down here, so I've swapped those two back. I did a double check with the other side, and again on this side we've refitted the anti-roll bar link. Now get the subframe on and get that bolted into place. Right, so as I thought, I did try and adjust it. The subframe obviously doesn't marry up with this part of the bodywork the chassis, which is distorted. And if we look under here, that's the bolt that should be in line with this hole. So we can tell it's moved back a good, I'd say probably 10-15 mil. And there's also a gap there. So we've lost that amount of metal as it's collapsed down, and it's shifted it backwards that way, but it's secure because it's connected via this bolt here to this bolt here. Let's get the wheels back on. There's nothing else I can really do with it, but that gives us a good reference point now when we take these bits off, when they're all drilled off, as to where that needs to align. And I say there's nothing bolted to this other than this section here and that section there, so it's not as if it's like providing any kind of strength to the engine mounts or anything like that. Let's go for the wheels and then I can finish and go home. Right, so this is the moment of truth. Has all that work sorted that wheel out? Let's lower it down and see. I think we're good. Yeah. So on the other wheel, I can get my hand just behind the sort of top, should we say 2 o'clock position on the wheel, and feel this kind of edge here, and I can get 4 fingers in there. So that is now in line where it needs to be. If you look at the Renault badge and that centre point, they're directly in line, and the same is on that side. So after a lot of hard work, we're done. And I am sweating. Trying to get some of those bolts off was an absolute nightmare. So I need to make sure I don't lose the bolt. This one that goes at the bottom of there. Let's get all tidied up, get this stuff out, and I'll get this written up. So that brings us to the end of this particular episode on the Renault Clio. Like I said to you, hopefully we'll have the Fiat 500 back in a couple of weeks, which would be really good because then I can get some content back on that as well. Next step is we're going to wait for a slot to open up for us to do the remaining chassis parts, those skins, get those welded in place. And yeah, I'm going to do a bit of the labouring on that. So removing some of the parts, might even get involved in a bit of the welding. So that's like new skills to me, and it's interesting content hopefully for you guys. So if you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that every time I drop a new video, you get notified and you don't miss out on anything. Again, any feedback, any comments, always appreciated, positive and negative, and give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Thanks again, and catch you in the next one.